that we should not bank our lives on material things. For godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is a surety that we can carry nothing out. So having food and clothes, let us with these things be satisfied. So don't worry about what we're gonna eat or drink. Don't worry about how we're going to get by. God will take care of us. This morning, as we continue on the subject, we're going to be talking about scriptural rules for giving. Scriptural rules for giving. I don't know how many of you follow me on the outdated Facebook. As most of them on this gram and that gram and the Instagram.
That's right.
And the TikTok and whatever. I am still old school and old fashioned. All I am on is Facebook, nothing else. But for those who follow me on that outdated app, you'd have probably seen me post something last week saying, "Shame on you, Bishop so-and-so." Or I said, "So-called Bishop so-and-so." Because there's this church in the U.S. where the attendance on that day was 1,000 people.
Yes.
And Bishop said some way, somehow he came up with this wonderful idea that he needed $40,000.
Yes.
$40,000. And he told the lady who was in charge of ushering to close the door.
That's right.
Lock up the door. Because nobody will be leaving here today until he gets $40,000. He said, whether you want to give it out of your wallet or your purse, whether you want to write a check, or whether you want to go and do it electronically, something like that. All right? That's your online banking. All right? And he was serious about it.
Yeah.
And he and the lady followed because she says, I am not going to be doing that. Because, Bishop, what you're doing is wrong. Bishop, what you're doing is wrong. And last week, Paul told Timothy the preacher in the same 1 Timothy chapter 6, but you, O man of God, flee or run away from those things and follow after faith, righteousness, and godliness. So, preachers should not be making merchandise of the gospel. Salvation is not for sale, but unfortunately, there are regular members of a congregation whom the preachers have brainwashed to the point that they think that they can buy their way to God. That somehow, by paying down materially and not necessarily living good lives, somehow God will usher them into heaven on the day of judgment, because see how much they give. And so preachers like this, shame on you, bishop, are like that. So I want to look at some scriptural rules for giving. Number one, church. When we're giving to God, God tells us that we must give according to our income. Because sometimes churches want you to give more than your income, and that becomes an outcome. So we are told from long ago, when God was establishing Sister Annette, the scriptural rules for giving is that you must give according to your income. So that is why I encourage you here at church, make a budget. Know how much you spend on food, how much you spend on bills, how much you spend on your kids. There are some preachers and churches who will tell you to give all of that to God without considering. And somehow, some way, God next week will work things out for you. And I usually say, do not expect God to bless you with a doctor's salary if you're getting a porter's income. And some people somehow, they don't have the ability to work $300,000 a month. But somehow, they let preachers tell them that God will some way, somehow cause you to inherit next week $300,000 if you give your $70,000 2 weeks pay to the church. And these preachers have no heart.